This is a 70 to 200mm. And those of you who have been paying attention to my past few videos know that I have been trying out this thing for a few weeks for now. Today is the day that I'm going to conclude whether I should keep it or not. So I'm going to be challenging myself to only using this thing for the entire day and see how much I can resist the temptation to go back to wide angles, because I'm not very good at that. Those of you who know me know that I have a huge love-hate relationship with telephoto lenses. They're not exactly what I really like, and they're not exactly what I use a lot, so I have no idea how well or how bad this is going to go. Anyway, let's start the video. Hello everyone and welcome to Cockatoo Island. It's a little bit of a ferry away from Circular Quay and oh god, things were late. So I'm here for some industrial themed photos for today and a little bit of a surprise for the end of this day. Now, I've been here before, quite a lot of times if anything, and I'm quite familiar with this place, so I'm not going to do a lot of scouting today. Essentially only aiming for 3 photos all around the old industrial block. If you've watched the intro, you'll know I'll be trying to use the 70-200 exclusively today. Hopefully nothing goes wrong. Whenever I say that, something inevitably does, so I don't know, man. Anyway, let's get going. Alright, here we are with the first spot. Now, this is the crane outside Cockatoo Island. It's one of those defunct cranes that once was a sub base, and now it's a really pretty photo prop, if anything. Some of you might have noticed I've been here before. This photo right here is from, I think, August last year. And I use a 24, 28, 35, I forgot what millimeter. Editing me figured it out. Essentially a wide angle kind of shot upwards, you know, my usual thing. But this time I want to use this thing. The 70-200, ideally around, say, 100 or 135mm, kind of more telephoto, if anything. Hopefully that works. I'm not too sure how I'm going to put it. Maybe, say, around here or even up here. Makes it a little bit more risky, but I don't think my tripods are gonna really appreciate that. Saying that, yes, it's not very slippery. Yes, it's not very strong sunlight. Everything's cloudy. Everything's a little bit of softbox. I love it. However, it's a little bit windy. I'm by the coast, by the harbor. Of course, everything's going to be a little bit gusty. It's not too big of a concern, but it is something to think about. I'll figure out what to do. Maybe I'll shoot along this way. I'm not too sure. I'll think about that. Every time there's an interrupt to, you know, the setup process or whatever, it's usually because I figured out something went horribly wrong. The thing that's going to go wrong today is that I forgot the stand. The most critical part of the entire thing, the most critical reason why I can do those high-risk shots is because I can attach the stand on my bloody tripod, and I forgot it. Somehow I didn't check the bag this morning and completely forgot it. Maybe it's due to me, you know, switching bags last week, but it's on me either way. I honestly don't know how I'm going to do this photo because I planned it the entire way to be, you know, on higher things and strapped in tightly with the tripod and everything, and now I can't do that. I'll figure out something out. I don't know, honestly. Maybe I'll just scrap this day and leave it be. I don't know. If you think a little something called common sense and logic can stop me, well, you obviously haven't watched enough of the videos. Watch more of them. I am absolutely reckless in a lot of cases, and today even more so. I'm trying to use the tripod itself and just the doll leaning on it instead of having the entire stand set up, you know what I'm saying? And hopefully that works. It's actually not that hard. The doll's just leaning on the tripod and everything's actually kind of stable. That's funny enough because the wind's not too bad. Everything's kind of stable-ish. I don't really have a better word for it. And hopefully that works. The indoor shots later, I'm planning to have the doll lean on or just kneel onto the tripod itself, which is not exactly very difficult, and I have something else for supports. It's just that setting things higher up like this is a little bit more difficult. Anyway, let's take a look at what I'm using today. 70-200 at a little bit over 100mm. Again, I think it's around 120mm. That's kind of my sweet spot. At f4.5 because the thing is not very, very bokeh-ish, and I want a little bit more depth of field with two flashes, one over here, one slightly below the doll itself, shining and providing as much as a balance light as possible. I'm not using any LEDs because with this kind of distance, it really doesn't matter. I think in the footage itself, I'm going to have the mask on the doll, so apologies if it doesn't look as good, but I don't know. Editing me figured that out. Maybe I'll have the mask off, but that will have to be really, really quick in a separate clip. Anyway, let's take a look at the shot. That is the definition of good enough, and good enough is good enough. I am not going to risk it anymore, and time to pack this all up. First shot, I'd say good enough, and because I don't want to risk it any further, I'm just going to leave it be. Because, well, the thing that went wrong today was the stand, and I don't want to have another thing going wrong, and that being on her face, you know. I'm going to head inside the old industrial building kind of thing, and do the second and third shot inside. That's what I'm planning at least. Now I know there's like a whole upper section of this island that I should go take a look at, but I've been here so much and up there is pretty much just nothing. So I'm gonna make it easy on myself, just have it inside and just do the shots there, call it a day. And plus, I don't want to risk anything or do anything, you know, out of the blue without the protection of the stand. All right, I'm just going to change her out and move to the next shot. I figured out I should take the chance while I'm just, you know, redressing the entire thing for the next shot indoors. I might as well talk a little bit about the 70-200 and my history with it. Those of you who have paid attention to my Instagram and socials and whatnot know that I've bought this lens quite a while ago, and I've been wanting this lens for a long, long time. I actually do have a 70-200 myself. It's this one over here. It's the F4 version. The Mark II released in 2016, 2017, and it's really, really good. It's still a quite recent lens, if anything, but it's long, it's bulky, and I didn't really like bringing it out because I didn't know how to use it. So I just brought it out less because it was bulky and I didn't know how to use it. And the less I brought it out, the less I started using it because I didn't like the feel I was getting from it. And it just became a vicious cycle. I didn't like it, I didn't bring it out, and I just didn't use it, so I didn't like it. You know the drill. However, a few videos ago, I did start to feel a little bit stagnant on things. Things just weren't very interesting with wide angles anymore, and I thought to myself, well, is there anything I could do about it? And the solution was in my cabinet all along. I did plan out bringing out a 70-200, but half of me in my head I was thinking that, well, it's not very good, if anything. And all of a sudden, this thing over there, the big boy, the 70-200 I have right now, popped up at a way cheaper than market price. I'm not going to disclose how much to make this story sound more fair and less about money, if anything. And I thought to myself, well, if I can buy top tier glass, I might as well use it for like something, right? If anything, if I don't like it, I can just sell it and make a profit from it even. So no harm. And I bought it. And I will say that I kind of like it. If anything, I pretty much love it. I am trying to do a challenge today to prove that I can use this and this only. Partly to justify the huge cost, and partly to convince myself to replace something else in my bag with that lens. Anyway, I think that's enough of me rambling. I'm going to change this all up and head indoors. I've walked around 100 meters inside this industrial building thing, and this is one of the spots I was thinking of. So you see this line around here like that? I plan to shoot maybe this with a 70 or 100 millimeter, seeing how magnified the background is and seeing if I could use, see that light right there, right here? Glowing to the back and reflecting some light onto the doll. However, without the stand, it's going to be a little bit more challenging because I don't have isolation between the tripod and the doll itself. I'll see what I can do about it, but this is pretty much the second spot. All right, I'll look around and time for the setup. After fiddling around for a little bit longer than I expected, here we have the second shot of the day. It's honestly nothing special. If not for the fact that I didn't bring, my stand, this would have been way easier because I was trying to stick the gun and whatever on the tripod with boot tack, and it's not working very well. Technically it's stable, but I'd like to have it out there as quick as possible, if you get what I mean. Anyway, let's take a look at what I'm using. The 70-200, a little bit under 100 millimeter, make it around 85 or so. F4 for a little bit more bokeh because I don't want it to be too busy. With two flashes on one side, providing a little bit more light, pushing against the flaring and the backlight situation right behind. They're on really, really low output because I want to be balanced and try and use editing instead of just flashbanging the entire thing. Inverted everything, portrait orientation. Hopefully this works all right. It's going to be one of those photos with a lot of flaring, so it's going to be more artistic rather than just critical stuff. Anyway, let's take a look at the shot. I'd say for a standard that I didn't bring the most critical part of my entire setup, good enough. I am going to move, I'm going to move like 20 meters over there, but because I'm alone, I have to pack up everything to go there. I'm probably not going to film me walking over there just to make myself and make my day easier. Let's get rolling. Quite literally walking 20 meters from the corner, I have arrived at the main attraction for today. Now, this is the biggest factory space thing of all, and everyone who comes to this island has to take a photo here, and I am no exception. And in my hands, you can see this little motorcycle thing. Now, yes, it is pretty big, honestly. It's like longer than my face, and I have a pretty big head. But this is around 1/6 scale. And to fit anything with a doll of my size, you would need anything between 1/3 to 1/4 scale, and this is just a little bit smaller. It works pretty good as a toy bike for a doll, but as an actual prop bike, not so much. Here comes the unique properties of the 70-200, the magnification. I hope maybe at 135, 150, 200 millimeter, with the doll sitting slightly in front of this bike, it would look at least big enough. I'm not expecting it to literally be magic and make it really, really big, but at least it would look better than, 20 mil, that right here, or something like a 50 mil. I'll simulate it on my phone with this photo right here. It looks like a toy, not like an actual bike. Hopefully it works well, but right before that, I have to change out everything, prep out everything, and see if this shot's good enough. Let's set up. Alright, here we have the last shot for today. Now, the setup took me a little bit more than expected because one of the screws inside the modified joints just completely got loose and the leg almost fell off. I had to find all the parts in the bag because they basically exploded, and good God, that took me a while because some of the parts were like as small as a speck of dust and some are transparent. So that took me a little bit more than I would like to admit. And this shot is a little bit more difficult to set up as well because The flaring caused by the light opening at the back is very, very strong, despite what you might see here. I had to balance everything with the lights, with the flashes, and because this lens is very prone to flaring, which is not a bad thing, I really like the flaring on this thing, it's very, very difficult. Now, I mentioned the compression about the 7200 making the bike look a little bit bigger. I'm not sure that totally worked, but at least it looks somewhat good, I'd say. 7200 at 100mm f5.64, a balance between bokeh and background, horizontal orientation with 2 flashes on each side, giving that little punchier contrast tones, combating the light at the back. And that's pretty much about it, with 2 lights supporting the exposure. Let's take a look at the shot. Good enough for me, good enough for everyone else. And I think I'm gonna pack up and roll the outro right here. Overall, I'd say challenge successful. The moment I found out that I forgot to bring the doll stand, the entire video kind of became that instead. Trying to figure out what to do without the doll stand instead of, you know, a 7200 challenge. But I did do all 3 photos with this lens and they're very, very good. Part of it I do attribute to this lens being very good. The other part of it, well, because I tried using this lens for a few weeks, I now have a better understanding of what to do with telephotos instead of just abusing the wide angles. You know what I love, 20, 24, 28, 35, things like that. I'm not saying that you need this lens, and I'm not saying even that you need a 2.8 version of this lens, but more of you should try telephoto. Actually, when I think about it, a lot of doll people like telephoto, like 85, 135 instead of the wide angles. Maybe I'm the weird one. So maybe if you haven't tried out the wide angle, try out wide angle, vice versa, things work both ways. Anyway, my conclusion. This is definitely 100% staying in my bag. It's kind of taking over the 24-70's position in my bag because I don't want to bring out 3 lenses. And I'll be honest with you, I don't really see a 24-70 being that useful anymore once I have this thing. This thing takes over the 70, this thing takes over telephoto, and the 15-35, which I did bring out today just in case, that takes over for everything wide angle. So I'll think about my setup, it's gonna change, but in the short term, this thing is gonna be my workhorse. Anyway, thank you very much for watching the video to the very end. Like and subscribe if you wanna see more. Leave a comment down below, let me know how horrible my video was, and I'll see you in the next one. Lemon out.